Hey, you made it back. Jeff Miller, your host, Destination Aviation. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome to the show. If you're coming back, welcome again, as always, to Destination Aviation. We're going to jump pretty much right into the interview today because we have a good one. I always love a good interview. Not that all of them aren't good, they're all good. I cherish each and every one of them. But I think Maria Romanick and myself had a great conversation. Maria is with the Minot Airport in North Dakota, not South Dakota, only North Dakota. Never been to North Dakota, been to South Dakota. When I turned 18 years old, I got my sweet Pontiac Grand Prix. And if people didn't know it was a Pontiac, I put a big sticker on the back of it that said Pontiac, because I wanted everybody to know that there's 3.1 liters of steam rolling out of that hood. So, yeah, Dorky Jeff rolled off to South Dakota at 18 to see the president's heads. So that whole story in itself is, I guess, relatable. I don't know. I've never been to North Dakota. So when we first were talking about doing this podcast, I was like, yeah, you know what? I'll get some inside information on North Dakota, maybe make another trip at some point in my life, much older. And this time, my sweet Pontiac won't overheat through Chicago on the way home. And I had to drive on the shoulder like a jerk with people blaring their horns at me, rightfully so. But if I stopped the car, it just overheat. And quite honestly, at 18, I think I had $2 in my pocket. So there's no way I was stopping to to fix the radiator. But we had a fantastic conversation, and I'm gonna go right into it now. We're gonna follow up here with some show notes as we always do at the end of the podcast. But without further ado, we are all off to North Dakota. Well, Maria, thank you for coming on Destination Aviation.
I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited. I love this podcast, and I feel like a chosen one.
Wow, you feel chosen? Well, I was going to say
my wildest dreams. Yeah, this is fun.
Wow, you don't have big dreams, do you? No, I'm kidding. I'm very flattered that you want to be on the podcast.
They're simple dreams. How about that?
Yeah, I love simple. I have simple dreams too. So we were talking right before we started recording, and you helped me to understand Romanick. Well, I just messed it up. Romanick. You tell.
Romanick. Yeah,
Romanick.
there you go. Okay. Third time's a charm.
Yes. I'm still thinking about how honored you are to be on the podcast. It means so much to me. But you were telling me a really cool story about your heritage and your grandfather and coming to this country. Would you mind sharing that?
Sure. So my last name is pronounced Romanick, but it was sort of an evolution how it came to be. So my great-grandfather is Ukrainian, and he immigrated here. And during his paperwork process, his last name was misspelled. So instead of the ending being Nick, which is what it currently is now, it was originally Niuk, and the UK turned into Nick. So it used to be Romaniak, like gross, ew, and it turned into Romanick. So I don't know which one's easier to pronounce, but
I would probably struggle with both, but I struggle all the time. I did the podcast on Alaska, and I mispronounced. Yeah, I know, right? And I mispronounced Seward. I said Seaward. And somebody very nice from yes, and so somebody very nice from Alaska was like, "Hey, you got it wrong," and I was like, "Okay." And then, but a friend of mine who works under the airport, she actually reached out to me and said, "I never knew it was Seaward. I was saying Seward." And then I was like, I have to be honest and correct this for the person who knows in Alaska, but my friend, because I was like, no, you were right. I was wrong. So I said the error of my ways on a different podcast. But in your case, right? So do you still have family in Ukraine?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
So There is a pretty big Ukrainian, I mean, I shouldn't say big, but there's a good little settlement just about an hour and a half south of where I currently live in Minot, North Dakota. The town is called Wilton. That's where my grandfather grew up, and there are several Ukrainian families there, distant relatives of mine. And I believe most of them came and settled there, is my understanding.
Wow, I
So,
love that. You know, there here in Illinois, there is a big Ukrainian presence as well,
okay.
just around the greater Chicago region. But it is interesting, especially when there's kind of this mass immigration, and I think at least now it seems like the federal government has a part in. Okay, everybody go to this area, right? But
Yep,
it's kind of
yep.
cool because you end up with these big cultural pockets in
Right,
like North
right.
Dakota, you
Yes,
know.
yes,
Yeah.
yep,
No, see,
yep.
when my grandfather came to the United States, he had a similar story, and I'll butcher it, and he's passed on, so I can't ask him. It sounded he was from Italy, and it sounded like
Okay.
cappuccino. I know it
Oh,
wasn't
love
cap.
it.
It's right, but so he came through Ellis Island, and
Awesome.
yes, but they didn't even give him the credit that they gave your grandfather because they're like, this whole thing is hard. We're gonna change your name to Willis, and so he was a Willis from that point forward.
Dang it.
Right, right, right. And then I became a Miller, with somebody told me at once is like somebody who made shoes, because I guess back
Oh,
in the day your last name was derived from like your job.
sure.
Yeah,
Right.
right, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, like blacksmiths, yeah, or, yeah, yep,
Right. So
yep,
do I
makes
have a
sense.
huge cappuccino fortune out there that I never were able to get my mitts on? Time will tell. maybe
Shoot.
maybe there's some cappuccino in Italy right now. I'm like, this guy's an
Right.
idiot. Uh, but
I
anyways,
like that story, though.
yeah, I
Yeah.
liked your story. No,
Oh,
it's good to get some
thanks.
history up front. So, I don't think we were talking before we started recording. I don't think we've ever professionally have met or met, period, in our industry. I
Right,
think
right.
we are like ships passing at night. We never actually,
Yes.
if we were around, we never actually knew we were around, right?
Yep, yep, exactly. Yep,
So you're in aviation, right? Because you're on
I
Destination
am.
Aviation, I think,
Yes.
right? Okay. Unless your LinkedIn's a big lie. Um,
No, no, it's true.
but can you just we have a lot of listeners. A lot of them are not in aviation. So could you maybe just talk about beyond your grandfather coming here, the name change? How did you get into this field, and what kind of your trajectory to where you are now?
Sure. I'll keep it a high level for now, and then we can dig into it more if anything kind of jumps out at you. But so I'm from Grand Forks, North Dakota. So University of North Dakota, Fighting Sioux, now the Fighting Hawks, depending on when you graduated. But I'm a Fighting Sioux.
You're finding Sue.
So
Okay.
I'm a Fighting Sioux. Yep, that'll age me a little bit, but that's okay. I'm proud of it. So at UND, there's a really well-known, successful aviation program, and I went to UND not for aviation.
Wow.
The
Okay.
place was home for me, and I started with the idea of going into physical therapy school, and I absolutely hated the entry level biology course. I knew I think I had 3 or 4 more to do after that, and I
Yeah.
was like, if it's already starting off this rocky, I this is
Yeah.
not for me. So I told my parents, I was like, I think I'm gonna try out the aviation 101, and I think Kim Kenville was my professor for that course. If you're in aviation, you know who she is. And I remember the first day, the first class. It's a 1 credit class. Like, it's literally just an intro to aviation. And I remember texting one of my dorm mates, who happened to be a friend from high school, and I said, I think I'm going to switch my major. I love this. I love this so much. And so I talked to my parents later, I don't know, maybe that week, and said I want to switch. And they were totally on board. And my dad said, you have always loved airplanes since you were a little girl. And my mom spoke French to us in our household, and my dad spoke English. Um, and
Wow.
just to help us learn and be bilingual. It did not stick, let me tell you what.
I
It
was
did
saying I
not
love
stick,
that
but
though. I love the Kind of dichotomy between the
yeah,
two.
yeah,
Yeah, that's great.
yeah. Really cool idea. I mean, I wish we would have stuck with it, but I don't know what happened. But my dad said, anytime there was an airplane in the sky, you would always point to it and you'd say avion, avion, which is airplane in French. So my dad's like, yeah, this totally makes sense. This is you, and I have loved it ever since. There've been bumps along the way, but I've loved it ever since. So yeah, graduated from UND. I started with the intent of commercial aviation, and as most of us figure out, it's either too expensive or it's the lifestyle we don't want. So at the time, I said I just settled for airport management, but now I'm so glad that it worked out that way because I love what I do for the most part. So after graduation, I got a job as an intern here in Minot, North Dakota, and have worked my way up to now operations and maintenance manager. So I've been here for over 12 years in various roles and have learned a ton, and I'm still learning.
Wow, I love that. It's funny because I had a very similar experience. So I started in aviation when I was 16. So next year will be year 25 for me in aviation.
Good for you.
Yeah, right. But
Good
I
for you.
really, it started with my brother was getting a pilot's license, and I was a teenager doing oddball jobs, and as an oddball person would do, they're like, the manager was like, I need someone to cut grass and paint hangars, and I'm like, I'm
Yep.
your man.
Yep.
I can do all of that. Maybe not
Yes.
well, but I can do it. Um, and so, then, but the funny thing is, where I grew up, so I grew up in Michigan, and the medical field was the field where you can make a living, make money, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of
Yep.
like, okay, back then at least, if you wanted to be like a firefighter, you had to know like the mayor and the mayor's,
Yeah.
like you, it was like a huge thing to be a police, like
Yep.
it wasn't going to happen, right? Which is funny because nowadays it's like they're like begging for
They,
people to get in roles
yep.
like
They
that.
need you. They'll
Right.
take you.
Right. But
They'll
back
take
then
you.
it was like, okay, what am I going to do? Prison guard or
Correct.
radiologist? Let me think. These are my two options. So I did an internship in radiology, and I had the same experience with the biology courses, medical term. I
Interesting.
hated medical terminology
Yeah.
because they're like, you got
Yeah.
to spell everything right. And I'm like, I can't even
Yep.
really spell my name. I mean, obviously from
Yeah.
Romanick device.
Robotic.
Romanick. Like, I can't do this. And so I started working inside the office a little bit at the airport, and I was like, what is this? Like what like so then I was like, oh, pilot. Okay, so there's a pilot, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
there's like, well, what else is there? And I'm like, I guess that makes sense. Like somebody has to watch over this thing. Right?
Right.
Somebody's
Right.
got to be here. It just didn't even like register in my head that that was a thing.
Yep.
And so it was very much kind of the same trek as like, I was going towards the medical side, didn't really like it, and then kind of serendipitous, I was here, and I'm like, oh, this is great, and the same as you. So I went to Embry
Yeah.
Riddle. So North Dakota, though, I know. I'm
That's
gonna
a good
say.
rivalry there, you know? Good rivalry.
Well, I'm gonna say this: University of North Dakota has an amazing program,
Yep.
and you have amazing sports teams. We have a lacrosse
Yes.
team, so there's
Which we don't, so good
okay.
for
So
you. Yep.
I think that's all we have. But
Okay.
no, I don't know. I'm sure there's other stuff, and people from Embry Riddle be like, "You don't know nothing," which is probably true.
Which is fair. Okay.
But it's fair. It's fair. So then you found yourself. So you've been at now. You say it quickly. Minot,
Why not? Why not?
Minot.
Yes.
Minot.
Like
So,
rhymes with why not? Why not? And so that used to be our slogan for a long
oh
time. Why
wow,
not? Why not?
wow.
And then the answer is because freezing's the reason. Because it is like bitterly cold here
Uh, What are
all the
you
time.
thinking? Why did you get rid of that? That's amazing. That was the first thing that was in my head. Why not? Why not? I was gonna
Why
say
not?
it to
Why
you,
not?
like I'm glad you jumped on that because I was gonna say it like you've never heard it before. I'd be like, well, I have a great
Oh,
idea.
I'm sure we've heard it.
I was
Don't
just
you
gonna,
worry.
yeah, I
We
was just
have
gonna
heard
say
it.
you heard it, you heard it.
Yeah.
So you found yourself there as an intern and worked your way up to what's your job now? You're a
Operations and maintenance manager. So
operations and maintenance manager.
you could look at it as the number two, or I'm kind of equal with our business and development manager
Okay,
in our org chart. So,
and then
but I oversee the majority of our team
Okay.
at the airport.
And so, for some of our listeners who haven't been in aviation, your job, I mean, the maintenance stuff probably, I mean, I think most people could make that connection, but really between operations and maintenance, your day to day job is, can you kind of explain? I mean, I know what it is, but I'd like to hear it from your
Yep.
words.
Yep. Yep.
Let's pretend I know
So,
what it is, and we'll just move
right,
on. Yeah.
I'll try to make it simple. My day to day is, as we always say, every airport's different, but every day is different here. But overall, I oversee the federal side of things as far as our compliance with FAA regulations. So think airside, making sure our runway markings, signage, lights, things like that are up to par and that they're in line with requirements. And that goes with anything from our fueling and our aircraft rescue and firefighting. There's so many regulations that go into running a safe airport, and so I oversee all of these things to ensure we have a safe and operational airport. So that's on the air side of things, and then we also talk about land side, public side types of things. So I also oversee the terminal facilities team, and they do the janitorial maintenance of the building. So I oversee the maintenance of the building systems. So think fire suppression, think paging system, baggage handling system. Some airports have their acute or CUSE system, depending on how you say it, which is kind of the airline IT infrastructure, and we don't here. Our airlines take care of that on their own.
Oh, they do.
Otherwise, some.
Okay.
Yep, yep. So here we do it separately. They're on their own. They provide their own networking. It's not a plug and play system. It's specific to them. So yeah, I oversee the airport's systems, operating systems, and a lot of behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, no, I think, and seeing a lot of the tragic incident that happened out of Louisville yesterday with
Yeah,
UPS, obviously it's early on in it, but it's kind of indicative of, at least in my mind, of the accident that happened at O'Hare back, I believe, in the 70s, where the engine actually separated from the aircraft, and it
mm-hmm.
looks like the left engine is on the
Yep,
airfield. But some of the videos I saw with the flames and stuff coming out of it, it made me think about this interview and just how important your job is, because another variation of this is like the Concorde, right, where it sucked up a
right,
piece of metal into it, and a lot of
right.
your job and your staff's job, right, is making sure those areas are safe, efficient, effective for
Yep,
aircraft travel, right, and
right.
so I mean you have a ton of responsibility in an accident or incident, right, and maintaining surfaces, making sure
Yep,
the airport's safe for people to take off and land, right? I
right,
mean,
right.
yeah,
Yep,
it's I mean, because you have to get your job pretty much right 100% of the time, you know.
right.
That's a lot
We
of
had
response.
a fire in the terminal building, small, contained, thank goodness. Some equipment caught fire, like runaway radios caught fire. I have to think, was it January of this year or last year?
Wow.
I can't remember. Time flies. Um, but just in the cleanup efforts, I was on vacation at the
Yeah,
time. They always happen when I'm
always
on
happens,
vacation.
doesn't it?
Always. So my vacation, I spent, responding from afar as best as I could.
Yeah.
And when I got back, not critiquing, but it just helped us realize, like, oh, we didn't think of this during the cleanup efforts. We moved things from inside the terminal building that were on fire, dead of winter. We just moved them right outside. And it was paperwork, it was materials, whatever. And by the time they put water on it, everything was frozen. But then the next week, things started to melt. And it was like, well, we got to clean, that's FOD.
Right.
It's out on the air side
Right.
now. It was moved right outside the building on the air side.
Yeah.
We gotta address that. Like, it was great. It was fine last week. It was a frozen ball of ice, right up against the building. But for next time, if we have, hopefully we never have something like that.
Yeah.
At the time, the people that were here didn't consider that, and those are things that I have to think about.
Wow.
Is
I love
wait, we
that.
can't we can't respond in that way.
Yeah, but the after action is always important because, like, to your point, there's always something you can do better, and I love that kind of perspective that you have on it, because that's what you learn from, right? You learn from
Right.
the incidents. But I also like too that you, because the reality of our industry is we're not always going to be there, and it sounds like
Right.
you've been able to create a good team around you to keep things moving forward, even when, the
Yep.
reality is we're going to be on vacation and we're going to be
Yep.
out traveling for business or whatever it might be. So I think kudos to you for, having a good team in place to get through something like that. I remember I worked at San Jose Airport for a little while, and
Okay.
we had two terminals that were connected together. One was older, and then a newer one, right? And
Yep.
you always hear, right, like from the experts, oh, we'll connect all the systems and it's going to work seamless. And well, it really didn't, right? And so a lot of times, especially when it was raining or something, some of the pull stations would go into alarm, but you don't know, right? You start trying to
Yeah.
do, okay, put a camera on it. Did someone pull it on purpose? Is one of the heat sensors go? All this stuff, right?
Yep.
And so we were out on the airfield and it was raining very heavy. Like rain was dumping down. And so I'm out on the airfield. The alarm hadn't gone yet. So I'm driving in the car. At that moment, I was a duty manager. So I'm the duty manager of the airport at that moment. So in charge of it at that moment, we
Yep.
would trade off. So it's raining heavily, and there's these little animals in California, like they're like moles, which is probably more of a
Okay.
technical term, but little mammal, right? And
Yep.
it was raining so much that they came out of their holes, and they started getting it on all the pavement. And so Alaska Airlines took off, and they're like, "Hey, there's a bunch of FOD on the runway," but it was all these little moles,
No
thousands of
way.
thousands of
Yeah.
them, and they're all dying or dead
Yep.
because they drowned, right? And so we're like, oh my God, one or two maybe, but literally thousands. We're like, okay, let's, you start thinking, FOD boss, sweeper truck,
Yep.
me with a bucket and a stick, everybody. And then all of a sudden, oh, the fire alarm's going off in the building. I'm like, what else can
Yes.
go wrong? And so was out there picking these moles up and put them in a bucket, right? Thinking they're all dead, I put them in it, right? Now I'm driving back to the terminal because the fire alarm's going off, and I start hearing yee in the back, and the
Oh my
moles were
God.
fighting each other. And I'm like, now I gotta get these moles to someplace safe. And I'm like, no, what did I should have stuck with radiology. No.
The
No.
things we never thought we'd have to deal with.
No, no. And when somebody asks to be like, "What did you do that?" I had a bucket of moles in the back of the car. I guess you could have had that in medical too, just a different type of mole.
Just different type
But
of mold.
it is. But so when you're not in Minot, when
Why
you're not in
not?
Minot, where do you vacation? Where is a vacation for an aviation enthusiast?
Oh
Where do
my
you go?
goodness.
Where you and your family or yourself go?
Yeah, I love well, in the summer we live about 45 minutes away from our family lake cabin. So we have really beautiful summers here. It might get, upper 90s for a week and everybody kind of panics and I'm
Wow.
like, settle down. It's freezing the other 357 days of the year. So we can take a week of the 90s, but but I also love the heat, so I'm a little biased. But we love to go to our family cabin, and then I really just like to visit my family and friends. So I have my best girlfriend lives down in Dallas. You have free lodging when you go visit the people that you know and love. Um,
Absolutely, right. That's why you love them
and
so
then,
much. Give me a
right,
free
right.
room.
Right. But I do love the mountains. So
Yeah.
if anybody has, if you've never been out to Utah, even just doing there's a Utah loop they call it, where you kind of loop through Utah and you visit five of their national parks, and they're just, it's the most underrated, I think, um, destination within the United States, and I'm fine if it stays that way because then when I go back and visit, it's nice
It seems
and
fair. I will edit
not
that out of this podcast. Nobody be like,
thanks, thanks.
I like,
No,
let's see,
I
Gary,
I
Indiana.
think
I spend the summers in Gary.
right.
Uh,
No, I love Utah. Is just, it's so beautiful, and it's got, there's so different. Every national park has such different topography, and it's all stunning. It's so beautiful.
yeah.
So
I have, so I've worked at 8 airports and I have traversed the country many times driving to a new job. And every time that I've been in Utah, it's been one of those kind of moments. But I am
yeah,
always so impressed with how beautiful it is. And I remember when we started flights to Salt Lake City and San Jose, I think their claim to fame, and you mentioned this, is the only state with 5 national parks within its borders, I think.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah. The beehives are
Yeah.
interesting on all the signs, but once you
Yes.
understand the Joseph
Yeah.
Smith stuff, starts to make sense. But I do remember there's like a bull or something on the side of the highway, and it says like no bull, no services for 128 miles or something like that.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
They're like, okay, I better make sure I got some gas. I got to be an
Yep.
adult. I can't just
Yes.
be coasting to the
Plan
BP station.
accordingly.
Right? Right. No, it is.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a really pretty state. I went there once for a conference, and that was really fun. It was interesting to me because the city closes up pretty early.
Yes.
It's
Yep.
in Salt Lake
Yep.
itself, but
Yep.
no, I'm glad. It's a lovely place to go visit. So that's good. So you go there at least. I don't know if often's the right word, but you go there.
I did one thorough tour of it,
Yeah.
and then I went there for the knack. So did a quick trip to Salt Lake this year, and then cannot wait to go back. So
Oh
I have
man.
a 13-year-old son, and
Wow.
I have to take him
Wow.
before he leaves me forever in 5 years.
Well, let's hope not. Let's hope he goes to North Dakota University.
Yes, I am fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I keep telling him the whole in-state tuition
It's
is
perfect.
is important.
Right. Go into aviation. It's a great time to be a pilot. It's phenomenal.
He's so tired of me nerding out about airplanes. I don't think aviation's in his future, unfortunately. But
It's always
you never know.
interesting, right? When your parents do something and then it's like, I'm not doing that. No way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
now my father was a traveling hypnotist, so I don't.
Serious? Are
He
you being
was.
serious?
He was. He was. He would
No
go and
way.
hypnotize people. So that was out
Oh
for
my
me, but that's a very unique thing, anyways.
That is so unique.
Yeah, we were like the snake oil salesmen. You roll in with the back in the 1800s and be like, I got some potions for you here in the back.
Yes.
That's after they changed our name from Cappuccino. Miller, there's your wagon. You just roll out and you start selling some snake oil. Fair
No
enough.
way.
Right?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. But no, that is I love that. Yeah, I should say though, because I did say something about Gary, and I don't want any hate mail. I do like Gary. Gary's just down the road. It's a beautiful town. I actually go there in the summer to go to the beach. So
Do you? Okay.
I do. You know,
There
it has
go.
well, so it's interesting. Under the first Trump administration, they made part of the shoreline there a national park. So probably not as
Okay.
grandiose as what they have in Utah, but if you're one of those
Right.
people who are scratching off national parks,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
an easy one to get to. Beautiful
Okay.
beaches, beautiful sand, beautiful people.
Yeah. Yep.
So
Beautiful people.
hopefully we'll
Beautiful.
just stop that hate mail right now.
Well, I didn't realize that, so I will have to keep that in mind
Yeah,
for my next trip
Ed
to
Garrett.
Chicago.
It's funny because so you're near Glacier National Park, right? In your neck of the woods.
Sort of. That's
Sort
still
of.
like 10 hours, a 10-hour drive.
This is gonna make my story sound even worse because I
Yeah.
learned no
It's
lesson.
okay, go for it.
I'm gonna learn
Go
no
for it.
lesson. That's what it is. So last 2 years ago, I was like, I've been at this job here in Chicago for about 4 years now. Actually, exactly 4 years a week ago. And
Okay, good for you.
I was like, thank you. I was like, I'm gonna go to a national park. I'm gonna do this, and so I'm gonna go on vacation. And dummy me, I got confused with Glacier National Park and Voyager National Park, which
Oh,
is yes.
okay. Okay.
And so
Yeah.
somebody who hikes and knows national parks very well, I was telling them the story, and it was a business meeting, and we had a meeting, and they were like, "What are you?" I was like, right after this, I'm going on vacation," and they're like, well, "Where are you going?" And I was like, "I'm going to Glacier National Park." And they're like, "Oh, well, how long until you get there?" I was like, "Oh, I'll get there like tomorrow." And they're like, stared at me like, "You're driving?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "No, you're not." And then me being like, "Of course I am." I was like, I'm west of you. I'm out like an hour west of here." And they're like, they just stared at me like, "Okay." And they dropped it there. But then when I got home and I started looking at my plans, I'm like, "Oh, wait." And then I
You
Googled it,
realized.
and it was 23 hours from here. And I'm like,
Yes.
oh, That's why I look like an idiot. Thank
Yes.
you. Right. But
You will be driving all
right,
day.
right. And it doesn't help at all because now I tell you the same story with it's right by
You've confirmed it.
Minot, right? But it's funny because I was gonna say with geography, with Utah, it's one of those states where even now, if you told me to draw it, okay, here's where I would put it: north of Colorado and like east of Nevada, but I don't really know what kind of fits. Maybe Wyoming. It would look very goofy.
It's west of Colorado, right?
It's west of it. Okay, I don't know. I'm just saying it's
west
weird
of Colorado. Yep.
because
Yep.
it's one of those states for me that every time I see it on the map, I'm sure you're right. Because every time I see it,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, that's where it's at, and I don't know why
Yeah.
it just doesn't resonate
Yeah.
in my brain. But
Yeah.
well, that's really cool. So you at your airport, you have what, United, Delta, and Allegiant,
Correct. Yep.
and so I'm assuming because I'm so good at geography that your flights go to Minneapolis. Is that
Minneapolis
right?
on Delta. Yes.
Okay.
Good job.
Oh, okay.
And,
Yeah, that makes sense. And then United.
and
United would be.
United's Denver.
United
Denver.
is Denver.
To Denver on United. Yep.
Wow. Okay.
And then Allegiant is Phoenix and Las Vegas, and we had Orlando service for about a year and a half.
Okay.
And then they just confirmed to us that they probably will not be returning for this winter, which is a bummer.
Yeah.
But we know there are ebbs and flows, and they could come back seasonally. So
Yeah.
we're hopeful.
Yeah.
But they've chalked it up to a lot of our traffic is Canadian traffic. We're about an hour south of the Canadian border.
Okay.
So we get a lot of Canadian traffic, which is down about 35%.
Yeah.
Right now. So we're hopeful if things improve politically,
Right.
however you may want to see that. It is impacting Canadian travel. So
It's interesting.
whether we want it to or not.
Yeah, I was just in Toronto for the ACI North America. Well, I think they combined it. So I don't think it was World or is their annual. And I went to the World Series. I went to the first game.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, and
Jealous.
it was
Ugh.
it was just kind of one of those things where, this conference came up like back in the spring, and I had booked it or whatever, and then it just turned out, oh look, and then the people that I was with, I was like, you want to go, and they're like, oh no, and I'm like, it's like,
But did you go?
oh, I went.
Did you go?
No, I went by myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I was like, I'll go. I'm fine.
Well,
Now
who
my
are you cheering for?
Blue Jays. Now I
Okay,
don't want to
okay.
insult the Dodgers fans, but they felt like the underdog in the scenario, and I also didn't know how this whole 51st state thing was going, and it was all Blue Jays
Right.
fans, so I was like, "Go Dodgers!" Go thrown out of the dome. No, but everybody was so friendly, but it was nice because I went to a Nationals game at the ACI AAA legislative meeting that they have in March, and it was like the home opener, and
Sure.
it was such a horrible game because some of the fans were just so like rude, and they were yelling at people. They were even yelling at kids, and it was just like a bad vibe. Yeah, and so this was a nice way to end the season because everybody was so, and there were Dodger fans and everybody was so nice and friendly, and it was such a good game too. It was probably the best baseball game I've ever seen in person. And a World Series outside of the United States, that's like the only opportunity, right? It's the Toronto Blue Jays. But the interesting thing, everything on the TV commercials were like, Canadian proud or built in Canada for Canada, and everything had, and I think a lot of it was, and that whole thing had just come out with the Ronald Reagan messaging and his view on tariffs, but I was talking with a friend at the conference because I didn't realize, I think it was Buffalo. Buffalo is a medium hub airport, and I'm like, what?
I was just there last week.
Were you? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, right. Well, what were you there for? Can let's hear your travel plans.
I'm on the International Snow Symposium Planning Committee.
Oh, wow.
So we had our planning meeting there last week.
Okay, we're going to talk about that in a second because I'm very interested in that. I just wanted to say to your other point, the reason why where so many people come down from Canada because there are taxes on air travel out of Canada that they don't get when they go to Buffalo. and so they get a lot of Canadian travel because it's right there.
Okay.
They've been
Right.
having issues too, though.
Yep.
They've had seen a decrease, but
Yep.
yeah, I didn't realize. It's interesting because I worked in Laredo, Texas, which is on the southern border, and it was the
Yep.
opposite. A
Right.
lot of times when you would travel through us versus like Nuevo Laredo, you could reduce the taxes by like $150 flying out of Mexico. So it was kind of the opposite.
Sure.
But
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
hopefully, everybody was really nice and friendly. Hopefully, we can find
Good.
a pathway to get along. But
Right.
the
Right.
snow symposium, I have never been to it. I always hear good
You've
things.
never
I've never
been.
been.
Do
I've
you?
never been.
But do you send people from your airport
We
to go
do,
or no?
yes. People
Okay.
always go,
Okay.
yes. I forget the timeline or the day. I feel like it always conflicts with something that I have going on.
It's always in April and it's for like a week.
Okay, maybe it's that.
It's like a
Maybe I'm just like
five
out.
day thing.
Yeah, I'm out sniffing daisies in the front yard or something. Spring's here.
Yeah.
I can't go anywhere. Let me get out my swim trunks.
We're still like in the dead of winter at that time, so it's
Wow.
like, oh, it's just another Tuesday. Maybe not quite, but
Back to that.
we're
It's
not seeing a
90
lot of sun
degrees
yet.
once a year,
Yeah.
right? And you get
No, no.
wow. So because it seems like everybody's always really impressed with that conference. So kudos to you and your team for the job you put on.
Well, thank you, but I'm
Yeah.
brand new.
Okay.
So I just joined. I was nominated last year and was accepted or voted in, whatever. So this is my first planning meeting. So
Wow.
kind of learning for this first
Yeah.
year, but I've been to it 3 times, two
Wow.
times, something like that. So yeah, it's really impressive. So for people that aren't familiar with it, it's put on every year. So they try to tie it into an educational workshop as well. So
Okay.
Saturday, Sunday, there are a variety of different courses you can take. So A.A.E, the American Association of Airport Executives,
Thank you.
puts on basic ASOS, advanced ASOS, which is like basic airport operations training, familiarity, things like that. And then advanced is a bit more advanced. And then there's also basic and advanced snow academy, which is so basic is, you're going to have different snow equipment for different types of snow or different surfaces, things to consider. And then the advanced snow academy, you build a snow and ice control plan, which is required if you have
Yeah.
snow operations. So, and I just did advanced snow academy this year because I was due for it, but I found it really beneficial, especially for our like entry level or boots on the ground folks, because they're the ones that are in the piece of equipment moving snow. They're the ones that are out there doing the work, doing the hard work. But how do we get them the equipment that they need, or what do we need as managers to hear from them to know what they want or why they want something so that we can plan to purchase it. And so with Advanced Snow Academy, you put together a snow and ice control plan, which includes your fleet. How are you going to fund your fleet? The different ways you can get money, whether it's PFCs or AIP funding. We don't need to go into all that, but it is really cool. So they have really good educational opportunities at the Snow Symposium that you can get certificates for. And then starting on Mondays is this actual Snow Symposium. So it's like a conference. You have keynote speakers, sessions, things like that. And then every other year there is an equipment hall.
Yes.
So they have all the snow equipment brought in from around the world by vendors and de-icing companies and things like that. Anything related to snow removal that you could think of at an airport, they have it on display there.
I
so
love
that's
that.
the really exciting year. Yeah.
I'm sitting
Yeah.
here. I have so many questions in my head, so I'm just going to
Yeah.
try to remember some of them. But so with like your planning committee and stuff, are you a speaker yourself? Are you going to be speaking at this next year's event? You seem like you should. You seem like a great speaker. Get them riled up for the snow.
I got roped into it because I got asked to speak a couple of years ago. We
Yeah.
had a pretty epic snow season and
Yeah.
some equipment failures, catastrophic equipment failures that are fun to talk about.
Yes.
So I spoke that first year that I went, and then I think I built relationships through that.
Yeah.
It's so cool to see. I never realized this, but when you're a speaker, when people come up to you afterwards and they thank you and then they stay connected with you, that means a lot. That
Yeah.
means so much. And when they share with you, like, oh, I can relate, or we had this cool thing or unfortunate thing happen at our airport, and then you just connect that way.
Yeah.
It's really encouraging, and it's just so fun to be a part of
I
that.
love
So
that.
that's how I got roped in
Yeah.
to the planning committee.
Yeah, every time I speak, I usually get the finger. I don't know what I'm.
That has not happened yet, but there's a lot of
No,
room,
no,
a
no,
lot of
no.
opportunity, I'm sure.
No, it's great. It's always interesting because I too, I just had the opportunity to speak in Las Vegas, and the panel I was on at NBAA, National Business Aviation Association. Um, they were three other people I probably would have never really had an opportunity to talk to. It just
Right.
naturally probably wouldn't have come about. One built really cool that's like almost inflatable Quonset hut hangars, but they're
Yeah.
big, they're scalable. You could put
Yep.
like a 757 in them, and
Yep.
and he was from, I think, Australia, and so it was this kind of group of people. To your point afterwards, that you're still kind of collaborating and talking, be like,
Yep.
oh yeah, I never, like, that's cool. And say, I totally agree. I think if anybody gets an opportunity to get in one of those engagements, and everybody, I laugh about the finger, but everybody is so supportive,
Right.
and
Right.
nobody ever really makes you feel like, because we all have a little idiosyncrasies and stuff we do when we speak,
Yep.
and I think everybody at this point, kind of, especially in our industry, like, they kind of know it, and they know, like, if you're being honest and you have a good message, like, I've always found it to be a very friendly crowd wherever it might be,
Right.
and so I love
Agreed. Yep.
that you had the opportunity. Now you guys have like a snow rodeo too, right up there where they do.
Yes.
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 Okay. Yeah.
So one of the like the second to last day, or it is the last day, I think. They do a snow rodeo. So if you don't know what that is, it's you volunteer. You don't have to do it, but you volunteer. You compete to get the best time in. They use a dump truck, a pretty easy piece of equipment, dump truck with a front mounted plow on it. I have not done it because I'm not an equipment operator, but like I said, there's still time. I can still
Right.
choose to do it in the future. But so they put together kind of a little obstacle course. I think last year there were 3 different tasks that the operator had to do.
Yeah.
One of them was um, backing up against a wall with a plunger, and it had to sound the horn. Another one was moving something with the front plow, like a folding chair on a platform, if I'm remembering correctly, at a certain angle, and then you literally just weave through this course with your plow. You need to know how to adjust your
Wow.
plow depending on the curvature of the obstacle course, and then of course you want the best time.
I
So
love that.
you get point time added on if you hit so many cones and things like that. So yeah, it's a really fun
Yeah.
fun thing to watch. So everybody can go watch, and then if you want to be a driver and compete, you have to sign up, do a little training course. You have to have 2 years under your belt as an equipment operator before they'll take you. But I'm proud because one of our equipment operators got second place. Not this year, but 2024. So
Wow.
pretty proud of that because
That
there are
is-
some long-standing equipment operators that have a lot of history, or they come back year after year and they still win, or they
Oh,
always
yeah.
win. So
It's serious
that was fun.
business with plowing,
Yeah.
and snow
Yep.
removal, snow brooming, and every airport that I've worked at in a northern region, I always want to respect that shop, that mentality of what every it's a little bit different everywhere, but everybody
Yep.
has their opinions on it, and it's cool because it becomes like a source of pride for an airport,
Absolutely.
camaraderie, and
Yep.
do they have an announcer? Like, are they like, he's got the plunger up against the wall? Because if not, you should add
Yes.
it. You should do it yourself.
Yes. No,
Just-
there is
is.
a gentleman
Okay.
who is the announcer.
Okay.
We're I think he keeps threatening that he's about to retire. You know,
Okay.
it all in good fun, but we're like, well, what are we gonna do when he's done? He actually is a rodeo announcer in
He
real
is.
life,
Oh wow.
so it's a perfect
I
fit.
love that.
It's a perfect fit.
How do you? And maybe this. I don't. It may have come. I have your LinkedIn up, so I'm gonna look at your timeline here. It
Sure.
might have been. No, it would have been when they came out with RCAM, the Runway Condition Assessment Matrix.
Yeah.
I have my own opinions about it. I guess I'm just wondering how you feel about RCAM. Yourself? Everybody is everybody kind of are they accepting of it now? Are they?
Well, I mean, we have to
You
be.
have
I
to
mean,
be
that's
okay, right? Okay,
we
there
have
you
to
go.
be.
You have to be.
So I think they transitioned to RCAMs like 2 or 3 years before I got in my current role. So during the transition, I was kind of on the business development side of things. So I
Yeah.
wasn't into operations, but my passion is operations. So I still paid attention and cared about it. And so now that I'm in my current role, like I said, we've come to accept it. The problem is we still get pilots, commercial pilots, that call requesting for the new numbers. What are the
Right.
runway numbers? And for people that aren't familiar with that, the way we get braking action or friction, the level of what's the pavement slipperiness, I guess you could say
That's a
in
perfect way to
layman's
say it.
terms.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when there's freezing rain or something, how slick is the runway or how dry is the runway? And we have special equipment to test that. And the way we used to calibrate it, or the way we used to measure it, was it provided a number based on the various areas of the runway. So your landing, your touchdown, your midpoint, your rollout, and then it's calibrated or calculated differently now.
Yeah.
So we can't give out that flat number that we used to. There's a whole matrix of all sorts of variables that get plugged in to a system based on what your contaminants are, your type of precipitation, what your runway temp is, things like that. So
Yeah,
it's been a process, but we're
yeah.
still trying to get our
Yeah.
pilots on board. They kind of seem to be
Yeah.
the trouble kids.
I was in Pittsburgh when it really trouble kids, yes. I was in Pittsburgh when it really came about. And I always had a bone to pick with it. And I actually was just talking with someone at Midway because, the unfortunate Southwest accident that happened at Midway where there was the excursion and the
Yep.
737 went off and actually hit a car and a kid unfortunately passed away in the car. You read the NTSB report, and from what I remember, the thrust reversers I think were applied later in the report. But one of the items in there is that the runway hadn't been assessed in a while, and so then they hit us all at once. I think it was 2016 or 2017. I can't remember the exact year that there was this. Okay, you got to switch to RCAM. And I was like, I looked at it. I'm like, okay, well, you wanted to make it less subjective, but I feel like this is more subjective because
Yeah.
to your point of the parameters where before you would run a coefficient of friction going down a runway, and that has its problems in itself. I absolutely agree.
Yep.
A truck is different than a plane, absolutely. But
Right.
to me, at least, it was some sort of non-biased opinion. And then
Yeah.
you read this matrix that they put out, and unless they've changed it, because I don't, it's not my day job, I haven't done it in a while. But what I am from understand from the past is the only way you can upgrade a runway condition to your point of being less slippery is a mu value. You can only
Yep.
use
Yep.
that to go from like so it's a for the people that don't listen, it goes from like a 0 to a 6, I think, right? And
Yep.
let's say you're at a 3 and you assess it with your eyes and you're like, nah, I think it's a 4, but you can't do that.
Right.
You can get rid
Right.
of that FICON and create a new one. I don't know. I
Right.
just was like, I get it. And then the interesting thing is, at the time, I had heard, and I always thought this was a really good idea, but I guess it never went anywhere. But I had heard that the FAA was testing coefficient of friction devices on aircraft wheels. So, like when a plane would touch down,
Okay.
it would give a mu value out, and I'm like, well, that would be really cool if
That would
that
be really, really good.
right. But I guess it never went anywhere. I don't know, but and then
Huh.
yeah, right. And then the other thing with it was Oh shoot! Now I'm losing my train of thought on where I'm talking about with mu values. But like up north, right? We would get, I remember in South Bend, we would have, um, you know, like FedEx or something, where we have a caravan land, and they'd be
Yep.
like, hey, what's the pilot report or PIREP?
Yep.
What? It's good. But if you had somebody running southern routes all day, and then they go to Minot, right? They're like,
Right.
this is
Yes.
poor. It's like,
Yes.
okay, well, you were just landing in Fort Lauderdale. Like, it's
Yes.
different. And so then we have to go out and assess it again. And so I
Yep.
don't know. That's my
Yep.
beef with it. But no, that's really cool. I
Yep.
love that you guys are involved with it. It's funny because when you were talking about not being an operator, when I was in South Bend, I've never been the first airport I worked at a little bit, but after that, I've never been an operator directly. And so when South Bend gets a lot of lake effect snow, and they were like,
Yep.
oh, like we need help. And so we were all there, and I was like, I'll be helpful. And I got a little truck, like an F-250 with a plow.
Yes.
And I was like, I'll be helpful and I'll do this ramp. And I did it. And I go back to the office and I'm listening to the guys on the radio, and they're like, who the hell is on
Who
this
did
ramp?
this?
I don't know. Could have been anybody. I think I saw some guy out there that shouldn't have been there. So,
Didn't know. Clearly didn't know what he was doing.
right.
I guess.
Yeah,
Guess we'll have to train him.
right. Yeah, that guy, I think it was a contractor. A red truck said Burr on it or something. With that, so
Yeah.
do you at your place, you do any snow removal at all? You let them handle it?
Like me personally.
You personally?
No. However, I've been in this role for a little over 3 years, and I have always said I want to be a resource to the team. So if we're ever, think back to COVID when people were dropping like flies, or quarantining for 2 weeks, and we had nobody, bare bones teams. If we ever had an unfortunate circumstance like that again, I don't want to just be up in my office.
Yeah.
I would like to be able to help. So, and we've got other reasons why too, for all of our Part 139 certification. I mean, I want to stay on top of things if they ever need me for issuing NOTAMs and things like that. So at this time, no, but I am working on getting my CDL. That's what I was doing before you and I got on this call, and just doing e-learning for now. But my ops team is great. They are excited to see me in a truck. However, I have volunteered to stay on the ramps or stay on the land side, and they can take care of the runways unless they really need me.
Is that something that you guys do? Do you go outside the fence line? Every state I've been in, including this one, we don't do CDLs because the big equipment never leaves the airfield. Is that a state requirement, or is that just a best practice?
Nope, same thing. We get our CDLs though. Because we are a city-owned airport, and our city shop maintains all of our equipment. So for the most part, we have to take our equipment across town to the city shop, and it's our guys that are operating them to get down there. So that is the why behind that. And like our dump trucks, which aren't typically, at least until now, funded by the FAA. We purchase them other ways. Those are used on the land side, and so to have all of our I's dotted and T's crossed, we offer CDL training. We pay for it, we provide it, and it's worked out well for us so far.
I love that. On our part, it's always been one of those things where we typically we'll offer it usually if it means like career advancement for someone, even if that means leaving the airport, because a lot of times, they can get it and move into, commercial trucking or something of that nature. And it's funny because as you and I are having this conversation, our trucks have been worked on. Our winter trucks, and the guys told me, because the shop's right by our offices, right, and they're like, we're gonna be working on them, so you might hear some weird sounds, and I kid you not, it sounds like they're killing a goat or something. It's like, and I'm like, what the heck are you doing on that truck? Are you what? Yeah, I guess.
Sometimes ignorance is bliss. I'm okay with not knowing. I just don't ask.
I love that perspective. So, okay, so you're working in Minot. We
Yes.
know where you vacation now. We know you're putting a lot
Yes.
of time in the snow symposium. Bless you for that. We need that free work from you to make
Right.
it work.
Right.
We do. So I'm going to see you at some point. I know I will. You're going to be chair
Yes.
of AAA, and I'll be out in the
No.
audience, and I'll do a wave to you.
You might be retired by then. I don't know.
Oh no, no. Well, you never know. I mean, I guess
You never know.
I don't know. I think you're just gonna excel right through this thing.
I don't know.
Yeah, you seem like you got the right personality, and I'm glad though. Triple E needs some good people in those roles. So not that there isn't now, but they need people like you, and so I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're on that
Thanks.
trajectory. Um,
Thanks.
but okay, so all of that, and now you're. Are you a pilot too? Do you fly at all?
I am. Yeah.
You
So
are. Okay.
I didn't say that during my little intro, but
Okay.
part of the curriculum at UND is at least when I was there, for all of the aviation programs, you had to get the private pilot's license. So
Wow.
yes, I
Wow.
do have mine. I have not flown. It's been 3 years
Okay.
since I last flew, which before then it had been about 10 years. So I'm a real rusty pilot. I I would love to get back into it, but just right now it is
Yeah.
not financially responsible for me to put my money there. So,
I when I went to Laredo, I didn't fly for about 3 years too, and it is so hot there. It's like that white spot on the map where
yeah.
it's like goes over 120 degrees. And I was
Yes.
like, I don't know if I want to be sitting in a non-air conditioned 172. Not to
Yeah.
mention you're in that what are they, the ADIZ? What is I forget the acronym right now, but it's you're on the border, and so I'm like they're
Yeah.
gonna think I'm running drugs or something. I'm gonna have like helicopters. Like, what the heck is this guy doing? I'm just having fun. Um,
Right.
but when I
Right.
guess
I'm getting current.
right, right.
Just getting current.
Right, right. It was funny though because when I worked down there, there would be people like from I think we had no, it was Kansas, and they came down in a Bonanza, and one of many that they thought they were buying cocaine and stuff from dealers, but the whole time they were talking to the DEA, and so they would tell us like, "Hey, this is going down," and they'd be out on the ramp, like do do do, like putting fuel in their plane and
Okay.
watching the guy, and then like all of a sudden these cars are swarming. You could see like the oh shit
No
moment where they're like,
way.
uh oh,
Yes.
like yeah.
I would love to see
Oh,
that.
it was
Oh,
so
I
much.
would
Yeah,
love to
no,
see
yeah,
that.
it was that was it. It was very. It was an interesting spot to be in. But I
Yeah.
guess the moral of the story is, besides running cocaine, the moral of the story here is, I didn't fly for 3 years, and I started flying out of here I rent from a flight school here,
Yeah.
and I think probably the same. Like it felt comfortable. I think I did two flight lessons and slow flight stalls, all that stuff, and they
Yeah.
were like, "Yeah, you're good." And then I was like, "Okay," but I was like, "Can I go with you?" Because I wanted to do the city tour because I knew people would start wanting to go on when I took people for
Yep.
rides, and I wanted to see it from a flight instructor's perspective. But even after a few years, probably the same with you, like it all felt very natural again. So hopefully, when you
I
choose,
hope. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it was. It
Yeah.
was. It was. The only thing I would say is I showed up, with like my fresh chart supplement and my sectional, and I was like,
Yep.
"Let's go!" And
Yep. Let's
the
go.
young individual who was my flight instructor was like, "What the hell is all this?"
Right. Right.
Have you heard of ForeFlight? And I'm like,
Right.
yeah, right. I was like, and I did. I went and got it because I'm like, yes, okay, that makes sense. Let's
Yes.
do
I
that.
know. I did learn a whole lot more at my last little briefing. Was okay. You can use a tablet now, and everything's electronic for the most part. So okay, I don't need a whole new FAR aim. I don't need to buy a
Yeah,
whole new pilot's handbook.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
It makes your
So
flight bag so much lighter.
oh,
It
absolutely.
does. But I find myself shutting it off from time to time because I want to, if it ever failed, I want to, like the skills you and I learned flying, I
Yep.
want to feel like I still have those skills if someday
Yeah.
the iPad broke her. It's like, you didn't do your
Yes.
update, dummy. Like, okay, whoops. How do I call flight following? Then again,
Right. Right.
uh, but yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, so you did fly. You're not flying now. Um, what Do you, and you can say, no, Jeff, I don't want to talk about this, but is this, do you feel like Minot is that your career goal? Do you want to be an airport director someday? Are you happy in the role you're in? Do you want to mold and shift and change, or what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, well, I served as interim airport director for
You
Minot.
did. Wow.
I did for a short stint for like 4 months, and it was I was told by my boss at the time, keep things status quo, don't make any big changes during this time, which to me again makes sense. It's my moral compass. I know that this is temporary.
Right.
We're not going to raise rates. We're not like that's foolish. It's not responsible. So I was airport director once, and
I
I
love
don't know
that.
that I ever want to do it again. It was
Really?
great when I
Yeah.
did it. As I mentioned earlier, we're a city-owned airport,
Yeah.
and so then politics get involved,
Yeah.
and that is really challenging. And they just varying things can vary so much. When you get new council members, or you get a new
Oh
mayor,
yeah.
or you get a new business in town that significantly impacts your community and thus impacts the airport in some form or fashion. And it's I much prefer behind the scenes, the day to day stuff instead of meetings all day, which I go to a lot of meetings.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but my calendar is always full. But I like the day to day behind the scenes stuff so much better than having to go to business meetings
Yeah.
and doing the news interviews and things like that. So I don't Minot is going to be for me for the next 5 years. As I mentioned, I have a 13-year-old son, and when he graduates, I do intend to move out and move up, and who knows. I
I
have
love that.
big dreams for when he leaves. I hope to take a year off.
Really?
That's a
Like a
really big dream.
sabbatical?
Yeah, I don't know if it'll happen,
Yeah.
but we'll see. I've always wanted to build a camper van
Wow. Now
and
you're speaking my
travel
language. Yes.
travel for a year and
Yeah.
just see the United States.
Oh my God.
I've been fortunate to travel internationally up to a few countries, but I want to see what we have in the U.S. and I
Yeah.
travel a lot for work. But you go to the hotel and the conference center and you go out to a few dinners. It's not often that I get to add on 2 or 3 days to go sightseeing. So
Yeah.
I hope to do that
Yeah.
and then see where the world takes me. So
No.
I don't know how to answer that for you.
No, I think you answered it perfectly. I mean, for me, I mean, because that,
Okay.
no, honestly have had the same thoughts. Especially as you go through your career, because people ask me all the time, they're like, "What would you want to do next?" I'm like, "Well, I'm really happy in the role that I have now. I am,
Yep.
and it's funny because somebody who works at JFK, they're more like entry level in their role, and they were like, hey, the same as you probably, right? Somebody asks you like career advice, I always will give advice, on
Yep.
what to do, what maybe what I did do that wasn't great.
But don't do it.
Yeah, don't do
Right.
it.
Right.
Don't do what I did. But ultimately, as I was started going through it, I was like, oh, as like, have you looked at like the Triple E Job Seeker? And I had realized at that moment that I had not looked at any of those sites, and at that time when I was talking to them for like 3.5 years,
Yep.
and it was a moment for me. I was like, I am happy in my role, and it's funny because as I started doing this podcast, I in my mind I'm like, I'm always thinking this camper thing would be awesome. I love that you want to build one out. Those are like I watch those videos like on YouTube all the time of
Yes,
someone.
me too.
Oh yeah, they're so much fun, and people that are doing it right. They're traveling around the
Yep.
country, and so I went on like a biplane ride with my niece, and I just fell in love with the Waco. And so, my thought now is, okay, I get this Waco, get my commercial license, and just do biplane rides around the country, right?
Yes.
But I
Yes.
think you get to a point in your life where time, right? Time is a resource that is it's finite for all of us, right? You
Right.
only get so much, and none of us know how much we get,
Right.
and it's so refreshing to hear someone just really kind of express it the way you did. Like, I love what your thought is with that.
Yeah.
I think you'll do it. I do, because if you have that drive, I mean, it would be so much fun to just go and explore and be out and about.
Yeah.
And there's a part to that's very cathartic too, to get away
Yeah.
from every day, right? Like I look, it's part of this podcast too, right? And that's the thing that's
Yep.
I've suffered with a lot in the career is, there's a lot of these good extracurricular stuff, but I wanted something that was my own, and
Yep.
something that you could do. So the fact that you want to go and do that, that's amazing. Now, do you have a particular model of van that you're like, that's the one? Or is it, could it be any?
No, I'm still open, but there was one YouTuber or a video that I saw
Yeah.
somewhere that it made sense to me. They said, there's you can get a Dodge Ram, you can get a Mercedes, you can get, and they said I chose a Ford because you can get their repair shops basically anywhere, whereas these individuals with the Mercedes vans are often having to travel hours.
Wow.
They're in Glacier National Park,
Yeah.
and there's
Up in
nobody nearby that
Minnesota,
can
right?
service them. You're right,
Yeah.
Minnesota.
It's like
Mhm.
10 hours from here.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
And so to me, I'm like, okay, I need to have that, keep that in mind. Is if it breaks down, that's my home. Could be my office at the time. It's my transportation. I can't have it. I probably won't be able to afford, or it wouldn't be smart for me to plan to detour for 2, 3, 5 days just to get something fixed when you could do it easily with a Ford.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm leaning, but that's really the only justification at this point.
So, but that's a good one though. I mean,
I
it
know,
makes.
I think so too.
Yeah,
I think so too.
it didn't resonate in my head, but when you explain it, I'm like, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
That,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, why, honestly, it probably is a deal breaker, because, somebody I know bought one of the Mercedes ones. And yeah, I mean, if you're cruising around in the middle of nowhere, right? Which,
Right.
quite honestly, if I had one of these rigs, that's where I'd want to be.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
I want to be in the
Yes.
middle of nowhere. Yeah, that makes total sense. Now, would you put some sweet horses or airplanes on the side of this thing? Do you got a motif for the side of this van?
To be determined. I'm afraid that I'm just gonna bougie up the inside so much that it's gonna be like I'll have one headlight to work with. Like, I don't have enough for two.
You know what though? You'll be a sleeper, and here's the other part to that is if you make it look too nice on the outside, you're probably just inviting someone to mess with it.
Right.
Right.
I don't need to bring trouble.
Yeah,
No.
make it. You got a perfect plan. Make it look chunky on the outside,
Yes.
and then nobody will even touch you.
Right. Nobody will know.
Yeah, you just hang out in it. No, I think that sounds like an amazing route to go with that, and so that's at least 5 years away.
That's 5 years away at least.
5 years away.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you're thinking just a year. Then you'd come back into the industry somewhere.
I think so. Yeah.
Are you a
And
warm person? Like, do you want to go? That sounds horrible to be like.
Am I a what person?
I said warm person, which sounds weird,
Oh.
but like, are you a nice person? No, I mean like warm, like.
I don't know who you talk to.
I go around asking strangers in their
Right.
vans, "Are you a warm person? Are you like? Do you like warm climate?" It's probably
I love
the better.
warm climate.
You do?
But I think I do. I think though, because I've been in North Dakota my whole life,
Yeah.
I'm just itching to get somewhere warm. I do love Florida, the heat and humidity,
Wow.
but I think I've done it the most for 2 weeks at a time. So it's very appealing to me because I never get to see that or
Yes.
be in that. But could I really live in that? I don't know.
You go park your van in Embry-Riddle, just back it in, and
I could.
right, yeah.
Nice little plug right there.
I'm a professor.
I might have to hit you up for some like swag or something.
Yeah.
just to
I
make
give
it
you
look
like
I
alumni pin, and it's funny because
right.
you get one of those now at this age, and like I wore it specifically in Toronto because my friend went to Florida Institute of Technology, and it's always like,
Okay.
ooh,
Yeah.
yeah, Harvard of the skies. That's easy to say when that's the only belong. That only I was like, I get it, and I know, and you're right, but. Yes, I'll give you. I have so many of those pins. Just take one, and then
Great.
I don't know if it will get you out of a ticket. They're pretty aggressive there about ticketing, but you might be better off parking down like a what is that Alcatraz or Alligator Alcatraz?
Oh gosh.
Yeah, there you go. Down that way, than the Alligator Alley.
Not that way.
No, it's funny for me. I feel like the older I get, I'm like Benjamin Button, only without good looks or anything. But like, and actually, this
Oh,
analogy doesn't even work. But I'm just gonna say, like, most people, like, as they age, they want to get warmer. I want to get colder. I'm like,
really?
yeah, I do. That's why I'm fine with
Oh, I can't
Illinois.
imagine.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, I know, right? I would say you probably get a ton of snow, right?
Hmm.
I don't know if I'd be down for that, but
Yeah.
like here, I'm fine with it. I have no problems. I'm fine with it.
Oof.
I know. That's why I'm
Yeah.
weird. That's
Yeah.
I
Yes.
maybe that's why I say Benjamin Button, but
Yeah.
so
Oh,
okay, so that's all your plan. Now, if some of the people that reach out and stuff, they say, "Hey, I'd like to get into the industry, younger people." Any advice for those type of folks that want to be a, Maria down the road?
yeah. Don't limit yourself. And that is so vague, but it's like I started. I thought I was going into PT school. Never ever thought I would get to be a pilot. Like I can call myself a pilot.
Yeah.
It's like imposter syndrome from the day I turned 19 to till now. I never felt qualified or smart enough or whatever. And you just go take that aviation 101 class, or
Yeah.
if you saw a speaker at a career expo, or your your biology class that had a really cool story and you want to ask them more, that's how you get connected to people.
Yeah.
And we always say this, but in our industry we are so small and tight knit and so supportive, and I cannot talk to somebody for 3 years and then reach out to them and be like, I met you at this conference, we talked about XYZ, and they love you know to support you in
Yeah.
whatever you need. So go for it. Reach out to the people that have been in your circle, or even if they haven't. This industry is so good at supporting and encouraging people to check something out or go try something new or jump in.
Yeah, and if
You
you
know,
were to recommend a school, probably Embry Riddle or what?
um,
What aviation school?
doesn't ring a bell, but University of North Dakota is a really good, affordable
I
option.
hear. Plus, they have flight training in Mesa, right? And
They do,
they do,
yes. So
right?
if you need, a break to the heat, you can go do a semester or go for spring break down to Mesa, Arizona, and do some flight training down there. Yeah,
Yeah. No, that's perfect.
yeah.
No, I'm gonna say though, I think what you said. I think you are a very smart person in this industry, and it always makes
Well,
me
thanks.
no. Even though our paths have never crossed in this last
Yeah,
hour, I would say that we are lucky that you are engaged into this, even to the point where you need to take a sabbatical in your van. That
yeah.
you come back and
Can't wait.
no, right? Oh, I trust me. I mean, that's the same here. I'll buzz your van
Yeah,
in my. I
right,
promise.
right. That's fine.
Yeah, right. But no, it is. And I think it's cool in our roles. You get to a point in your career where people ask advice and stuff, right? And they ask you, and
Yeah,
I love the honesty that you have because a lot of times people give you like a perfect answer, like I did this, I made no mistakes, and I did that, and it's like, but that's not reality,
it's
and
not.
it is, and we have a lot of barriers to entering our industry just because of the misunderstanding of what I had no idea all the jobs that are associated in our
Right,
field. And you just, and it's just reality. If you're a younger person, you're not. Why would you be thinking about any of that?
right.
And so, to have someone like you at the beginning help kind of shepherd that, hey, be open about it. There's these rules, and I think that that's really cool, and it's needed because a lot of times that is lacking in our industry, and
Yeah.
it's really cool to hear that. Is there anything in your past that I have not asked about that you would want to talk
Oh,
about?
there's a lot, I'm sure. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
let's hear the highlights.
No. Well, one thing that I like to share is okay, so two things. One, I started as an intern because I had to turn down an operations technician entry level position because at the time it was just rotten shift work, like
Wow.
rotating shifts, as in every day you had a different shift. So
Yeah.
if today I worked 8 a.m., tomorrow I'd come in at 10 a.m., and then the next day I'd come in at 4 p.m. There was no consistency. It was terrible. So I had to turn it down, and because I was a single mom. And I share that because I have to give huge credit to the gentleman that hired me. When I turned down that job, I said, I can't do it for these reasons. I have a little kiddo, and I can't make that work, that schedule work. And he said, well, what about if we offered you an internship? It's a significant pay cut, but it's stable hours. And I was, I just needed a job.
Yeah.
And in the industry is what I was looking for. And I just thought, well, this guy, I have an extra barrier that most people graduating college don't have. And he still saw through that. He still saw potential. And so I always credit him. He's an airport director out on the West Coast, doing really well. And so he and I stay in touch, and I always credit him because without that, I don't know where I would be. I don't know that people would have seen that potential. So don't let those kinds of things, or if it's rotten shift work, share that. People probably know that, but getting that feedback, like, you're not gonna be able to hire somebody if you keep that in place. And so you have to adapt. But then the other thing was, I always share this one, and now I just forgot it.
It's okay.
Shoot. Oh, no. So after I was an intern, our terminal, we were anticipating a new terminal build.
Yeah.
Which doesn't have, that's like a once in a generation kind of project. So that's a big deal. And at the time, my same boss, he said, I anticipate we'll have some new positions formed because of this new terminal, or new positions created. And I, again, see some potential. You could fill in this role. So my internship ended, and our administrative assistant at the time left, went to a different department, and it was perfect timing because I had turned 26. I needed benefits. I had a little kiddo. And so this provided some stability. And I was in that role for about 2 years before our new terminal was built or opened up, and I moved into a business development role. And I just remember thinking, when I was kind of at the tail end of my internship, still unsure of what things were going to look like, I was like, man, I feel so stuck. I don't like where I'm at. And then I moved into the admin role, which was a great learning opportunity. But I kept thinking, like, I don't want to do this forever. Like, this is not what I went to school for, which is fair. But looking back, I was able to better understand the whys behind what we do, or why an airport runs this way. You come out of college with this education, but then it's the applicability and putting it to practical use and seeing it in real world. So my favorite example to use is when I was an admin assistant, was billing for landings or for fueling. And why do we have a 3-cent flowage rate, or why do we have a 6-cent storage rate? And just understanding those little things that mean nothing to anybody out in the real world, but those things are what keep our airport running, contribute to why our airport runs the way that it does. So be appreciative of where you're at and the things that you're learning. And, like, as cliche as it sounds, there's a reason for why you are where you're at. And you might not appreciate it at that moment, but it will pay off tenfold, in the future, when you can see how it all comes together.
No, I think it's such a powerful message, because I think even in my own career, as you move along, right? And I think a lot of us at some point, like, I want to move up, and I want to do this, I want to do that. And the fact that your advice is to kind of enjoy those moments, because it does sound cliche, because you hear it all the time. And I think what's hard to resonate at moments is, you're like, yeah, okay, old man or old woman, right. Okay. But, the reality is time gives you such a perspective of the past. And some of the funnest times that I've had in my career, were being an ops specialist, or, out there painting hangars and, listen to somebody in the hangar even complain about the airport, right? Because usually they're animated about it, right?
Yes.
And it is. The fact to enjoy the journey because when you get older, it's not really the paychecks and stuff that you're like, oh, I miss it. So you miss out on the opportunity to just be alive, and
Yep.
enjoy the moment. And we work in something. I always feel, because we do a lot of trade shows, and we'll go to career. Um, I don't know. I was going to
Career
say
fairs
career
or career
festival, but
expos.
career.
Yeah.
Yes, you had the better terminology.
Festival.
I went to the festival of careers. Get on the scrambler. Maybe you'll end up over here in radiology. We'll give you one of those bags to roll down the little slide that
Right.
blows you off into the Carney's freaking booth. Um, but people are like, it's easy sometimes to get the young students to like, soon as they start understanding like where you are and what you do and how you do it, and they're like, oh my god, it's really cool. And what we do, right? You're like, well, you can be in aviation, and some of the points you made earlier about work life balance, and maybe you don't want to be on the road all the time to be a pilot, but like you and I, who could work at an airport and we're involved in aviation every day, but then flying really becomes recreation for us, and you
Yes.
can
Yep.
keep kind of that love of just flying because you're not doing
Hmm.
it for business. And there are a lot of people that I've met that are pilots and they just love it. And there's others
Yep.
that I've met though that they loved it and then it turned into a job. And
Right.
so a lot of, not a lot, but there's a segment, right, that it's like, well, I
Yep.
mean, I do it so much for my job, why would I go up just to go up
Right.
and fly? And
Yep.
so I do think, we're in a special spot. And, people that listen to this podcast and hear people that are inspirational like you, it's like, oh, yeah, that's what I want. I want to go into that field. And, you know, the stuff too, even like the van, like you can tell you're a real person because that is
Yes.
such a cool thing to want to do. Like,
Yes.
I'm envious of just the thought of doing it because I'm like, that would be fun. And I
I
already
mean,
have a
around the
secret.
office,
Yeah.
they joke around the office that I'm going to live in a van down by the river in 5 years.
Eating a
So,
steady diet of
you
government
know,
cheese.
yes, right. It might not be so glamorous after all. We'll find out.
No, you know what though? I don't. I think if you actually do it, I think it'd be a blast. I really do. I think it
Yeah.
would be so much fun. And the cool thing is, probably like me, you have been in this industry. You know all these people too, right? So going around
Mhm.
and seeing somebody at some airport that you would have never, but like, yeah, I happen to be,
Right.
and I don't know. I can't even think of an example. I know all these people, but I can't think of an example.
Right, right.
I'm in Stark County, Indiana, and I'm gonna go to the airport. Can I park in your lot for free tonight?
But yeah, see,
Right.
like that,
Right.
it could absolutely work out in my favor.
Oh, it's going to be
Yes.
phenomenal. It'd be fantastic. Trust me, I've already been saying it with the biplane. I'm like, if I came
Yeah,
down, would you let me
exactly.
park there and do
Right,
airplane rides?
right.
If the answer is
Yep,
no, that's fine. I'll pay your fees. I'll pay the three
right.
cents and the 6 cents. You let me know what it is.
Yes.
Okay, well, the one thing I did have to ask, because our mutual connection is Mr. Kevin Spitz, right? So do
Yes,
you work with
yes.
Meat and Hunt up there, or
No, we do not. Not at this time, but you
okay?
never know what the future holds.
You never do.
But I met him at a conference. Um, well, I don't know if it was the airports conference, the Great Lakes AAA airports conference in Chicago in October. We met at a dinner one time, and then have just stayed connected that way. So again, for all the up and comers, it's just amazing how connected we are or can be, or this industry is crazy, crazy cool in that way. That's how you and I got connected, was Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin's such a nice guy. I always enjoy talking to Kevin. I had not met Kevin until I came to this role.
Okay.
But you meet some people in this industry and you immediately like know like, oh, we're gonna get along. This is gonna be
Yes.
fine, fine and dandy. And I've always felt that with Mr.
Yes.
Spitz.
Yes. And he's hilarious. I don't know what it is about him. He's quirky. He's hilarious.
Quirky's the
Like,
perfect word because he just
yeah.
has this kind of grin sometimes. I'm like, I'm gonna laugh whatever you're gonna say. It's gonna be funny.
Yep. Yep. Well said. Well said.
Yeah, you hit it spot on there. Well, one final thought then. Anything else that I didn't ask you on this podcast episode today?
Not that comes to mind.
Well,
No,
you could always
no.
come back if you think of it. We could. I would love to see the trajectory of the van, and
Me too. I think the more people that I tell, the more committed I have to be because I don't want to let anybody down.
you know what's funny? I did the same thing with the biplane. I went on this biplane ride, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna say it. I said it to our board. I said it to people that were here.
Okay.
I said, and I'm like, and everybody, when are you getting it? And I'm like, okay, I got to do it. Like, I
Yep.
gotta figure this out. Gotta figure the pathway out now because people
Yes.
are expecting me to look like Snoopy in a year, and I will. I'm gonna Snoopy it up.
But I gotta do it now that I'm telling the world.
You got to
so.
do it. We're going to check in.
Gotta do
You know
it.
what you should do?
Yep.
You should do a podcast out of the van. And, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Document
Yes.
your travels. Like,
Yeah.
and that may just turn into your career. You could just be
It could.
yeah,
A content creator.
content
I
creator.
never saw that on my resume.
Right.
Don't know.
Yeah, I've often thought that if I wasn't in aviation, I don't know, like I could see a park ranger, or like a fat park ranger for me,
Yeah.
like one that drives the van. I'm not hiking anywhere. I'm
You're
just
not out hiking.
no, I'm gonna drive. No, that buffalo looks fine. He's fine. Don't rub poison ivy on you. I'd yell it from the window.
From the van, not
Yeah.
from a trail.
Hey, no fires. But this has been so enjoyable for me. So thank you for coming.
I love this.
Thank you for coming
I
on
loved it.
the podcast. I will.
Thanks, Kevin, for
Yeah,
connecting us.
yes, thank you, Kevin, Mr. Spitz.
Yes.
I'm sure you'll have something quirky to say to both of us because
Right.
your word is perfect. Quirky is the word.
Good.
And he will too. I'll forget, and he'll show up, and he'll be like,
yes.
"I guess I'm quirky," and I'll be like, "Oh yeah,
Yep.
that's right." But that's the weird thing. If you do become a content creator, I love it, but it's also weird too because you'll
Yeah.
go and talk to people and be like, "Oh yeah, your dad was a snake oil salesman," and be like, "How did you know
Right.
that?" "Oh, that's right." That's right. I forgot. I said that out to the world.
Yep. Yep.
This has been so much fun. I might just have to go to Buffalo. I think you might have sold me on it, so I'm going to see this.
I think you should. I'll be there for April.
All right.
April is the Buffalo
Maybe
Snow Symposium.
if it doesn't
So-
conflict with my smelling of the daisies in the front yard,
Right.
and the
Right.
getting of the kiddie pool out to put the water in. If it doesn't conflict, I don't know. It might, and unfortunately, Spring Jeff is Happy Jeff, and I'm going to need that
Well-
time in the front yard.
I know. I hear ya. I hear ya. Oh,
Well, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
thank you, Jeff.
Thanks.
I had a lot of fun. So
Thank
you.
Well, that was a great conversation with Maria. She's doing so many cool things up there in Minot. Now, Minot. Why not? Literally, when she said that, in my mind, I was like, I got a great slogan for them. Of course, they thought of it, used it, and retired it. I'm sure everybody in Minot thought that as soon as they were like, why not? Why not? That's perfect. I don't think I could ever retire it if I was them. It would be a center point of my culture forever. But thank you to her so much for coming onto the podcast and discussing all the great things they're doing up there. I hope she gets that van and rolls on out because that's going to be cool to hear about. What a sweet dream, and a sabbatical too. That would be pretty awesome as someone who also has a wanderlust idea in this world. I think we all do at some point, right? At some point we all kind of say, hey, maybe it would be cool to get away from the job for a while and just experience life. I mean, after all, as we get older, especially, you're like, well, it would be nice just to remove those shackles for a bit, as the Eagles would say in their song. But in somber, sad news, I did want to say, our thoughts are with the families and those affected by UPS Flight 2976 in Louisville, Muhammad Ali Airport. A lot of speculation, obviously. We had an accident here at the Chicago airport back in, I think, 1979, which looked very similar to this accident. This was a DC-10, which the MD-11 was the more modern, newer version, if you say. I guess the predecessor of the DC-10. A little bit longer, more technology advanced, but a derivative of the DC-10, featuring two-person glass cockpit, winglets, improved aerodynamics, more powerful engines. But the reason why I'm saying they're similar is so in 1979, when American Airlines Flight 191 crashed shortly after takeoff, the left engine had detached from the wing, causing a hydraulic failure and a retraction of the leading edge slats on the left wing, which resulted in an aerodynamic stall and an uncontrollable left roll that led to the crash. In that incident, all 271 passengers and 13 crew members aboard, as well as two people on the ground, were killed, making it the deadliest aviation accident in U.S. history until the September 11th attacks. And so we're looking at some of the photos here that came out from the UPS accident. The left engine of the aircraft is actually still next to the runway at the airport. And it looks like that kind of roll to the left cause that, was the DC-10's issue. But obviously, I'm not an NTSB expert, not the FAA. I see the videos online of people going into deep dives on it. So there's a lot of videos out there on it. But again, thoughts are with everyone affected, including the personnel at the airport. I've seen a lot of other airports helping out. I think the Lexington Airport sent over an ARF truck. So kudos to the response to everybody involved. And again, hopefully we get to the bottom of it. It is the aircraft itself. A friend of mine who worked at the Oakland airport, he actually got a picture of it on the ramp in its full glory. But the aircraft was first introduced into service in 1991 as a Thai Airlines aircraft, and then UPS bought it, and it was converted into a freighter in 2006. So it's been in the sky for 34 years, but as we know in aviation, there is a lot of aircraft flying for a long time. And it just depends how many hours are put on it. But I'm sure as a cargo aircraft, it probably was flying almost daily. I think they have quite a bit of these MD-11s in storage with UPS. They have, just from looking around online, 38 in service and 34 in storage. But again, I am surprised. I know when I was working in San Jose, they were swapping out the MD-11s. I believe there it was for 767s, if I remember right. And the same thing other places I worked when I was in Pittsburgh. We used to see the MD-11 come in, and then I think that the same kind of track happened where it switched over to a different style aircraft. But again, our thoughts with everybody that is involved in that accident. I did just get back from ACI. I think it's ACI World. They had their annual in Toronto, Canada. I'll be honest, it didn't quite feel like a aviation conference for me because the World Series, it's kind of serendipitous, happened to be going on at the same time as this conference. So I had booked this conference back in the spring, and then that's why you haven't heard me so much get one of these episodes out. I've been running around not only our country but the country of Canada, doing the day job stuff. But I was up there, and the first night I was in was Friday night, which was game one of the World Series, and I'm like, I gotta go, and the people I were with were like, no, I don't want to go, and other airport people, I don't know what their problem is. So like, I want to go. Fine, I'll go. So I bought a nosebleed seat. It was still $800. I almost fell out of the dome. It was the last seat before you went out and over into the street. But what an amazing series. But that game won, a grand slam. Everybody was so happy. It was great to be a part of that, kind of swept up into that excitement. I started the year at the ACI AAA conference, the legislative conference in March in Washington, D.C., and I saw a Nationals game, and there was a group of people in our area that were so mean to everybody, including kids, and yelling stuff, and as they got more and more drunk, it was a beautiful day. It was the kicking off of the baseball season, and it did. The vibe was just off because they were being such really jerks to everybody around them. And so it was great to end the season on that note. I do wish the Blue Jays would have pulled it off. They were the underdogs. Everybody there was excited. I believe the coach for the Blue Jays said that everybody on their team is a baseball player because, I think the Dodgers has the most expensive roster in the league right now. But anyways, what an amazing series all the way up to Game 7. I was out trying, I didn't have the World Series. I don't watch a lot of sports on TV, but I was out trying to get an antenna and do all these goofy things to watch Game 7. I ended up watching it on Fubo, but it was in Spanish, and I guess I'm just turning in my grandmother because she used to say, "It's all Greek to me." And I'm saying that now because I'm sure there was a way to get the TV to turn off Spanish, but I couldn't figure it out through Game 6 and into Game 7. So I had this idea. I have Sirius satellite radio, so I was like, I'll play the game on Sirius and I'll put it on the TV, but it wasn't really matched. And so, it's like swing and a miss. And I'm like, wait a minute, they're just standing out in the field. And so then I finally got it down to where I had probably about a 10-second delay. And that was, I guess, good enough to get through it. So I was living a little bit into the future when they won the World Series, but I got to see the reaction on TV 10 seconds later. So that was really cool. Still working on the biplane stuff. Been playing phone tag with some flight instructors down south of me here in Chicago that have tail draggers. Hopefully that plan, and I'm keeping it intact as I go into the spring and summer. But I want to make sure I feel comfortable in a tail dragger and that type of stuff. I have a ton of interviews lined up for everybody on the podcast that listens. So really cool ones on top of what we just did here with Maria today. So you'll be seeing these come out. Apologize for being a couple weeks behind. I try to get them out, but you could always go back and listen to some of the historic stuff. Some people like to go back and then laugh at some of them to me. Over time, the show's evolved a little bit here and there. I listen to the comments that come in. So go back and listen to an old one if you don't see me drop one. But anyways, I really appreciate everybody coming in, tuning in. Let's hope what we're hearing on the federal front that they're saying now, Secretary Duffy, is that they're going to start cutting flight schedules because of the government shutdown in percentage up to 10% come this upcoming Monday. So hopefully the government gets reopened. Air traffic controllers need to get paid. TSA needs to get paid. Nobody doesn't want to be without their paychecks. I heard somebody say use the aviation trust fund to pay out these people. Let's just get them paid. I think at this point, if we can all come together and get something out the door, it's tough on people. And in our industry, there's people that are being impacted by this. So I hope our legislators get together, figure out a pathway to get money out the door so we don't affect our upcoming Thanksgiving holiday plans, because we know everybody that listens to this show wants to get where they want to go. And it's pretty sad if a man-made scenario happens to cause a bunch of people not to get to their loved ones. So I am hoping that we all will see some resolution here to the government shutdown. But with that being said, we'll send those positive vibes out into the airwaves. But thank you again for tuning in. And until next time, my friends, I'll see you down the runway.